All right, so I've been getting a lot of questions about these two cameras right here. Specifically, which one should you choose, the Fujifilm X-T5 or the XS20? Some of you might already have your pick, others are still trying to figure it out. Either way, you're in the right place. I talked about both of these cameras in the past, but it's been a minute and things change. So today, I'm just gonna break down the pros and cons for each camera and what actually matters to me when choosing between these two cameras. As someone who, dabbles in content creation, social media stuff, photography, and a little bit of video stuff as well. So stay tuned to the end where I'm going to give you guys my honest thought on which camera I would choose in 2025. The pros of the Fujifilm X-S20. Image quality for both photos and videos on the Fujifilm X-S20 is outstanding. The Fujifilm X-S20 has 6.2K open gate if this is a feature that you want. Open gate is sort of like the buzzword, and it's only applicable if you work in social media or if you're a filmmaker. If you need open gate, it's very useful. You can crop into certain dimensions. If you're a filmmaker that uses anamorphic lens, you can squeeze just a little bit more detail into the lens. I also like the fact that the XS20 has 4K 60 as well. Now, even though it's at a 1.18 times crop, it's still useful to have because I film B-roll in this frame rate a lot. It's great for me to slow down in post. The body and its ergonomics, hands down, this is the best Fujifilm camera that I've ever held. I like the Fujifilm X-S20 over the X-H2 and the X-H2S. I also like it over the GFX 100 Mark II body and even the Fujifilm X-T5 body. It also has a flip out LCD screen, so that's good if you guys are vloggers. Battery life is good also because it uses the new battery. I also forgot to mention that the Fujifilm X-S20 also has a pop-up flash. So this is something that could be helpful in a pickle if you guys are in dark situations. So it's nice to have. Let's move on to the cons of the Fujifilm X-S20. It's not weather sealed. EVF is still lacking. It's not as sharp and as bright as the Fujifilm X-T5. And depending on where you live, this camera may or may not be suitable for you. Several people have mentioned in the comments and said that this camera has overheating issues in warm tropical climates. I haven't ran into any problems here in the Algarve. In the summer, it's hot, and when I went to Spain in October, it was quite warm as well. It's anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. And I went around town. I was shooting with it while just being a tourist. And I didn't experience any overheating or anything like that. So your mileage may vary as well depending on what you shoot. There is no D-pad, which sucks because you have this empty space in the back. There's also like this empty space in here where they could totally fit a D-pad. So it sucks because the Fujifilm X-T5 has one, and you're gonna have to use the thumbs, the joystick a little bit, and I find that to be a little bit tedious to use. Another con is its autofocusing tracking. It's terrible. It sucks. I feel like it's not as reliable as like other cameras, so if you're trying to shoot fast action, just be mindful of that. Another con about this camera is its single card slot. Now this does get a little bit annoying when you film for a very long time at the highest bit rate. Once it gets full, you're gonna have to switch it out, and that's just gonna break the momentum that you have just a little bit. Now let's move on to the X-T5. So what about the pros of the Fujifilm X-T5? The image quality and video quality are great on the Fujifilm X-T5 as well. The colors are great as well. 40 megapixels is good for cropping, good for recomposing a bad shot if you missed in camera. And the aesthetics on the Fujifilm X-T5 looks pretty good. It has all the buttons and dials right here for you hipsters out there that likes that analog shooting experience. The EVF on this camera is super nice and bright and sharp, and in my opinion, it's the better viewing experience over the XS20. The LCD screen is also made for a photographer in mind with its 3-way tilt angle screen. It doesn't flip out like the XS20, so you get something like this, and then if you need to switch to portrait, you can now adjust it to see the angle of your composition, which there are times where this has saved me a little, and I do appreciate that. But for me, I'm indifferent between both screens because I do different things. And then you can tilt it this way as well. So if you want to shoot from the hips, you can look down like this and just shoot up like that. So this camera also has a D-pad, which is useful. Not only does it have a joystick, it also has a D-pad. You can also assign customizable functions to these D-pad as well. It also has dual memory card slot, so 2 memory cards instead of 1, which is always great for redundancies, for backup. It's also weather sealed. You guys live in places that are, you know, either wet or really warm. I think the XT5 is better suitable for you guys. Video specs on the Fujifilm X-T5 is underrated, and since it's marketed as a photography first camera, it doesn't get a lot of love for the video specs, although the video specs are quite powerful. So people who are getting this camera are more photography centric and then they are video, so that's why the video specs on the X-T5 is never really discussed. But when I was using it on my shoots and I just needed a little bit of footage, it's great to know that the X-T5 does have 4K 60 and has good video specs for me to film stuff if I need it. It can do 6.2K, but it's not open gate, so just keep that in mind. Another pro about this camera is its battery life. It uses the same battery as the XS20, so battery life is really, really good. Now let's move on to the cons of the Fujifilm X-T5. Now, the grip is a little bit smaller than the XS20, so it's a little bit more difficult to hold. So this is where you're gonna have to spend additional money to buy like something like a small rig hand grip to just make the shooting experience a little bit better for you. Another con is its autofocusing tracking. So that I have to put it in there. I'm gonna keep harping it until Fujifilm fixes this. So it's not that good, guys. So just know that it probably has one of the worst autofocusing tracking in the industry right now. So there's that. Another thing I have to say that's a con is that, you know, 40 megapixel is not for everyone. For me, I think 24 26 megapixel is enough for what I generally do, and I think for most people as well. 40 megapixel comes with extra costs as well, like, you know, storage costs. You're going to need to buy more hard drives. You're going to need to buy more memory cards to, you know, actually use this camera. If you're shooting a lot on this camera, these memory cards can fill up really, really quick. When it comes to taking pictures and videos though, I have to say that colors from both cameras are essentially the same. Perhaps you can tell a difference between the two different sensors, but for the most part, expect the same look. However, the sensor in the X-T5 does have a little bit more dynamic range, which is great. There are some things that overlaps on both these cameras. They both offer similar shooting experience. They're both tiny cameras. The X-T5 is just a little bit bigger, but not by much. So I consider them to be both tiny cameras. They both have great photos and video capabilities. One is a little bit more professional with dual SD card slots and weather sealing. One camera leans towards, you know, the photography purist. And the other one I feel is more of a hybrid camera, you know, which can do photos and videos equally well. But this all boils down to you as the user, whether or not your shooting style fits. The headline for these two cameras is 6.2K open gate or 40 megapixels. Like I said, there are pros and cons for choosing any of these cameras. Now, which one would I choose? So I've used both cameras extensively now, and we're in 2025. My needs have changed a little bit. I do not need all the things that the Fujifilm X-T5 has to offer. I have other cameras that does the same thing that the X-T5 does, but with much more reliable autofocusing. Overall better performances, like my Nikon Z8. For the price of the Fujifilm X-T5, you can go ahead and get like a Nikon ZF, a full frame retro style looking camera that performs better. Autofocusing tracking is far more reliable. It has great image quality as well, and the build quality is much better than the X-T5. What I've been doing lately, filming some content for my social media, for other people's social media, for my YouTube channel, for creative portrait shoots, I prefer the Fujifilm X-S20. Now here's why. It's freaking tiny. When I was traveling, I like how this camera with a camera strap over my shoulder did not hinder me. I moved around freely. I kept it on me the entire time, and I didn't have to put it back into my camera bag. The grip is something that I really, really like, and it's something that feels so great to hold in my hands. I really like holding the XS20 more than I do the X-T5, and I would prefer to choose the XS20 when I'm, you know, walking and taking pictures around a new place. It's light, it's convenient. For me, it offers a better shooting experience when I'm out shooting portraits as well. Now, I've been using the Fujifilm X-S20 to film some of my YouTube talking head videos as well. And I do love the 6.2K open gate features. I love that I can just crop in a bit or even just cut it up into vertical format. I also love the video quality as well. The output is really nice. I think the video looks so great in my opinion. With a 6.2K open gate, it just gives this nice soft film-like look that I get from my Fuji, as opposed to something like what I'm using right now, my Sony ZV-E1. It may look a little bit different from the Fujifilm X-S20. I also prefer the 26 megapixel RAWs over the 40 megapixel RAWs because the 40 megapixel RAWs do take up a lot more space on my hard drive. The 26 megapixel RAWs just eliminates that, and it saves me much more storage space. So I don't need to keep buying more hard drives and, you know, storing it. There are stuff that I'm missing, like, you know, the dual card slot and the weather sealing and the better EVF. But for what I do with it, I can live without it. Like the weather sealing and the overheating issues, I've found not to be an issue while I was using this camera in Spain and in the Algarve. And mind you, like I'm outside in 30 degrees Celsius weather. I'm not using it for video. I'm only using it for photos, and it's been fine for me. It's holding up. I don't use the Fujifilm X-S20 in wet climates. I'm like a cat now, so as soon as there's a little bit of rain, I'm not going anywhere anymore. I'm just staying inside at home. I did film 6.2K videos, talking head videos inside my home, where it's not too hot, where it's not too cold. And I do feel the camera getting warm whenever I film 6.2K open gate for a very long time, but it's never shut down on me due to overheating or anything like that. It kept going until the battery died. I like walking around town with the XS20 more than I do the XT5. I just feel I have more fun because of the way it feels in my hands, holding it in my hands. I feel I get more creative with the XS20 than I did with my Fujifilm X-T5. And perhaps the grip has a lot to do with it. I don't know. I just really like the grip. I enjoy the photos and videos equally on this camera as well. The XT5 is probably the better camera for you if you need everything else I mentioned. 40 megapixel, dual SD card slot, weather sealed. And I would say that's more for, and I would say this camera is more for the, you know, the purists out there, the photography purists out there. If you're someone that does a lot more photos but wants to dab in a little bit of video, the Fujifilm X-T5 has great specs as well. The Fujifilm X-S20 I feel can work both sides very well. I think it's a small, powerful camera for photos and for videos, and it's quite versatile doing both. And if you're aware of its compromises and its shortcomings on the Fujifilm X-S20, I think it's a wonderful camera. Anyways, what are your thoughts? So which one would you choose, the Fujifilm X-S20 or the Fujifilm X-T5? If you're interested in any of these cameras, I'll leave the links down in the description below. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and consider subscribing for more Fujifilm content. And thanks so much.